So LinkedIn News released a new report, right, called LinkedIn Skills on the Rise 2026. So they look at particular different industries and then they list the particular set of skills that they believe are the most effective or will be the most impactful skills that you need to have within your industry. So I came across one for marketing. I was thinking, you know what, this seems like a good one. Let me just record a video and go through it. I have not gone through the list as of yet, so it will be something for me to also have a look at. So that will be quite interesting. So before I even get started, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you are liking the content that I'm sharing, then please let me know. It will be good to get your thoughts. It will be good to get your feedback. As you may or may not know, I'm dropping one video a day every day for 1,000 days, right? Covering all things from PR, marketing, and brand authority. And if you are not sure what brand authority entails, for me, it is your personal brand multiplied by your business brand, multiplied by your campaign brand. That will allow you to give you that level of brand authority that makes you more visible and credible to the people that you want to attract. That will lead to more leads, which leads to more clients, which then leads to more revenue, right? That's what I do. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and let's just get straight into the video, right? So let me share my screen and let's just get straight into it. So LinkedIn Skills on the Rise 2026, the 10 fastest growing skills in marketing. I am not sure why it's based on the US, but either way, these skills will still apply no matter where you are in the world, right? So yeah, let's just go. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but I will include in the comments as well if you want to check it out for yourself. So let's have a look. So number 1 is performance analysis. Cool. Number 2 is AI literacy. Number 3 is social media branding. Number 4 is client prospecting. Okay. Number 5 is visual storytelling. Number 6 is team collaboration. Number 7 is community engagement. Okay, cool. And number 8 is go-to-market strategy. And number 9 is performance marketing. And number 10 is operational efficiency. So that is the list. That is the full list. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll back and then we can just work through each one and I can just kind of share my thoughts and opinions on it as well. So if we start with performance analysis, what it means, performance analysis involves measuring and evaluating marketing activities such as campaigns and events to understand what worked and what didn't, using those insights to inform future strategies that achieve business goals, right? And for me, with the idea of, data, I've done a previous video on it. That is super important. You need data in order to see where you are going wrong or what you can improve on, or even seeing what is actually being beneficial for your campaign or whatever you're doing. And the interesting thing that I find regarding the idea of data and you having to capture that sort of data to have a better picture of what is actually working for you when it comes down to your content, when it comes down to your campaign, is that you just need to get started and do it. And, when it comes down to producing content, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what the data will entail unless you actually start doing it. So the problem I find with a lot of sort of founders getting started and they have a new product or they have a new service is that they haven't effectively put in the sort of groundwork to then establish what are the metrics looking like. And with that, it makes it a lot more harder for you to identify where you are getting your sort of leads from. Where are you getting the most traction regarding the platform? What particular content or topics at hand is driving more awareness to you? As a result of that, how many people are going on your website? What's your traffic looking like as the result of you developing and incorporating your campaign? There are so many layers to the idea of data and metrics and the analysis side of things that many people sort of disregard, because ultimately not many people find it particularly easy to read the metrics and then produce a story regarding it. So as far as that performance analysis is concerned, that makes perfect sense why that is listed and why that is even number 1. I'm not sure if it's particularly ranked. in terms of the order of importance, but nevertheless, I think that is extremely crucial for anyone involved in the idea of marketing and how you can actually generate that into sales, right? You need the data. Without the data, you don't know where you're going. And you need, if you don't have the actual resources and the time or the budget, you have to learn how to do it. And I would even recommend, if you have the data to hand, utilize these AI tools that can allow you to then address those particular core areas within the metrics, and then use that as a way to then identify those particular trends or those particular outliers within your data in order to see what is actually working and what isn't, right? So that's number one in terms of that side of things. So let's have a look. AI literacy. AI literacy encompasses the ability to understand and effectively utilize AI tools and technologies for business purposes. In marketing roles, professionals can leverage AI for tasks like analyzing consumer or segmentation data or forecasting campaign performance. Cool. So, like I said, that pretty much stands true to what I said previously. AI literacy is very much important. I have already established and made it perfectly clear and known that I believe that the personal branding bubble is going to just burst on the 30th of November 2027. And the reason why I say that is because it will get to a point in our lives where everyone is focused on visibility, right? And now it is far too easy to be visible. It is far too easy to be able to produce content and to pull it out there. And more so, even if you have the budget, you can effectively pay to amplify to get your face and your name out there in quick succession, right? But however, the idea of credibility is really going to be the most important factor when it comes down to brand building and your personal brand in the upcoming years. I promise you that it's not going to be a joke. You can be as visible as you want, but if no one knows what you are visible for and you don't hold that level of credibility, then that is going to be where it gets really tricky for you, right? And that's why I have reason to believe that those who establish and build their personal brands from now not only are able to get into that position where they have that level of visibility, right? But they're able to form that level of credibility over time. And with the rise of AI, it's a lot more easier and a lot more faster to be able to produce that content to get you visible. And that's where the trick is now, because everyone can do it. However, not everyone can be credible. And that's the reason why I established myself as a brand authority strategist, because I know that is with your personal brand and your business brand that is allowing you to not only have that level of visibility, not only to make you someone that is more likable and someone can gravitate towards you, but also that business. What is that business that's allowing you to translate that into revenue, right? And through that, it's through the campaign brand that I work with that allows you to drive it simultaneously. If you're interested in learning more, click in the description box below and apply to book a Phases Brand Authority Clarity call. And we can have a chat, because I do this stuff all day. I do this stuff every single day. So not only do I love it, but I know what I'm talking about. And I lead by example, and I apply all the lessons that I've learned throughout my life till now, building my business, building my community, and applying that system into what I'm doing as well. So if you need any help with that, let me know. But in the meantime, AI literacy is important. Understand how to use these AI tools. ChatGPT, Claude. Like, a lot of people are moving over to Claude. I haven't shifted as of yet. I'm still very much with ChatGPT. Shout out ChatGPT. However, just try all the various different tools. See what works for you. See what is more what you like, what you prefer, and just whatever sort of pain points that you have within your particular industry, within your particular niche, even personal. If you have a particular pain point that's personal, see if there's any particular AI tools that's available that can just help you with that particular thing. And over time, you just trying it out for yourself and working with it is going to help you so much, because believe it or not, there's many people that are still very much scared of utilizing AI, right? And I've already done a video regarding a book called Outliers, which I highly recommend to read. But the long and short of it is that we are in a environment and a time now where AI is super key. That AI is going to create so many success stories for people who utilize it now compared to those who decide to wait until it's too late. And that's why I talk about the importance of getting there before the personal branding deadline on the 30th of November 2027, right? But let's move on. Let's focus on the task at hand, right? So, number 3, social media branding. So social media branding is the process of creating and maintaining a clear, identifiable brand presence across various social media platforms in a crowded space. Effective social media branding helps companies stand out and build customer loyalty. Okay, that's cool. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I like that. For me, when I work with my clients, I focus on my primary platforms, right, which is YouTube, LinkedIn, and Substack, because I believe those are the 3 most impactful platforms for B2B experts, right? I believe those are the more established sort of areas that you should focus on when it comes down to that. And then alongside that, when you focus on then amplifying the content that you're producing on the primary platforms towards your secondary platforms, which is more specific to your YouTube shorts, your Instagram reels, your TikToks, your Pinterest, wherever you sort of want to find your tribe within the idea of producing, I would say, niche content or shorts or unique content at that, is where you then amplify what you are actually putting out on your primary platforms to your secondary platforms. So that social media branding part makes a lot of sense. I would say with that, ensure that you are consistent throughout. And when I say consistent, I don't only mean the frequency of you putting out said content, right? I'm also talking about the consistency of your brand, the cohesiveness of your brand. So when people Google your name, they can find you. When they go on your TikTok, it looks the same. People understand who you are, what you do, why you do it, your expertise. When it comes down to your LinkedIn, same thing applies. When it comes down to your YouTube, same thing applies, right? You have to keep it cohesive in order for that social media branding to work for itself and do what it needs to do, right? So number 4, client prospecting. So client prospecting is the process of identifying and engaging potential leads to convert into clients. As self-employed career paths like independent consulting becomes more common, this skill can also support professionals in building their own client portfolio. And, with a quick one with client prospecting, that is super important, man. When I started freelancing and I started transitioning over to becoming a solopreneur in the process of documenting and building an agency that will hit 7 figures, amen, and also building a community as well of like-minded B2B experts and professionals who want to improve their visibility and credibility through the Phases brand authority system. These are the things that I've embedded and I've applied to myself, right? However, that part for me is something that I'm still improving on as well. I'm getting better at, but then the client prospect is so important because you need to be prospecting effectively. You need to be doing the outreach. You need to be selling efficiently and effectively, but then at the same time, you can't be too heavy, salesy. You need to know when to give and you need to know when to provide value, right? And with like Gary Vee, for example, with his book Jab Jab Hook, it's that same principle that applies. Provide that level of value, provide that expertise, provide knowledge, provide like a bit of your personal life as well. Like with the branding side of things, it's interesting because as far as B2B goes, is so serious, like super serious, and no one really gets the opportunity to understand who you are. They understand that you're credible in terms of the work you do, but why do you do it? What inspires you to wake up every day to do it? What is your 5-year plan, your goals, your ambitions? Like all that sort of stuff is things that you can effectively incorporate into your content strategy. Like I said, that not only build your personal brand, but it builds your business brand as well. Like you need to really focus on both of those and use your campaign brand in order to drive both of them simultaneously, right? So that's the client prospecting side of things. Visual storytelling. And you know what? That part is important. Visual storytelling involves utilizing images, videos, and other visual mediums to communicate a brand's message. It evokes emotion and delivers compelling narratives that ultimately foster stronger connections with audiences or potential customers or potential consumers. And you know what? Visual storytelling for me, it ultimately changed my life, to be fair. It's changed my life because I have realized that with, and you know what? If I'm being completely honest with you, it's something I've always knew was important. I knew it was important. The idea of visual storytelling, the idea of putting yourself on camera, video, documenting and showcasing the journey as well. But as I mentioned in my videos, when it comes down to this, it was the fear that was holding me back from actually putting myself out there, producing that content, and really getting to the sort of comfortability of doing it and being more confident on camera. But now it's safe to say, I can't say that I'm a super professional as of yet. However, it is through trial and error, repetition, and just discipline and consistency, as I always talk about, that has got me to a stage where I can do this now. I can do this a lot more confidently and a lot more comfortably. And it's really me just showcasing my passion points to the part where hopefully you're watching this and you can resonate and you can actually see and like how I radiate the passion when it comes down to this work, right? Because it's something that I really enjoy every single day, and it's something I'm working towards every single day. And for me, it's a blessing. So to have the opportunity now to really reinforce that storytelling through the YouTube element, and then being able to use that as a way to then drip feed into my other sort of social platforms regarding the topics I'm talking about, or the sort of areas that I want to reinforce, or sharing a bit more of my sort of personal pursuit of success, right? All of it is relative when it comes down to aligning what you're doing with the visual elements of things as well. So for me, that's a no-brainer, to be fair. That makes sense. Team collaboration. So team collaboration means working effectively with others to coordinate efforts like campaign planning, market research, and performance tracking, and leverage collective strengths in order to achieve shared business goals. And the reality of this brand authority thing, right, is the truth of the matter is you can't go alone. You can't build a revenue generating brand alone. You need to have a team behind you. You need to have a team that are supportive of you. And you need to have a team that are able to do the things that you may not be able to do. Because as a business owner, right, you need to focus on what you can do to generate revenue for your business, right? And when you incorporate your personal brand in the mix and you want to make that a revenue generating personal brand, you need to have a team that can work with you. That's why even for myself, I've hired someone who handles the shorts for the social media content, right? The long form content is here on YouTube, it's here to stay. And I have someone that clips the content for me and they distribute it across all my other platforms, right? And that just helps with the level of amplification. And in actual fact, I couldn't do it myself. I can't do it myself. There's far too many areas of things that I'm doing and so much work that I'm doing in various different things, whether it comes down to building that level of brand authority for myself, or whether it comes down to building brand authority for my clients, or whether it comes down to speaking opportunities or networking and put myself out there. There's loads of plates to spin in that side of things. And if you are a founder in that level where you also feel that there's loads of plates spinning, you need to outsource, you need to delegate, and you need to build a team that can work around you, right? But I have something that I'm working on that's going to, I believe, change the game in terms of how we look at building brand authority. So I will get back to that in due time. But for now, team collaboration is very much important. So let's see what else we got. Community engagement. So that involves the regular interaction of a brand with its audience to create loyalty and trust. When well executed, it allows companies to create a distinct voice and emotional connection associated with their brand. And a lot of stuff with what I'm doing, especially more so with the £1 million visibility blueprint, that is the community. When I'm talking about me building the community, that is effectively that. Because, you know, honestly speaking, like, I understand that with having a niche, you need to focus on having a niche and targeting down on your ICP, which is your ideal client persona, right? However, I'm going to do a video on this as well. But then you also need to focus on your IFP, which is your ideal follower persona. And there's actually one. I'm going to check to see if it has been coined already. But if it hasn't, then consider this video the day that I coined it. But then there's also the adjacent buyer persona, which I developed the other day as I was going through my own work. And effectively, the ICP is who you have as your main client profiles or people that you sell to. The ideal follower persona is effectively more so the people that gravitate towards you, they support you, they trust your work, they sort of look to you for guidance and counsel within your particular industry. They may not necessarily ever buy from you. However, they are so important because they are your circle of people who support you and they engage with you and they follow you throughout the journey to then validate your work and also to reinforce and showcase to other people who may potentially buy. But then the adjacent buyer persona, the ABP, is one that I sort of coined. So I need to double check to verify if it was me who developed it. But ultimately, for me, I believe that the adjacent buyer persona is more so that community element of things who may not necessarily be your ICP, but in terms of you targeting much more of a sort of broader net, I would say. That is the people who are somewhat adjacent and similar to your IFP. However, they are the ones who would happily pay for your services, who will pay for your expertise on much more of a sort of lower ticket level, right? So through that, that's when you have to understand those particular three areas and how it aligns to the elements of community building, I say. But as far as community building for me, I see that more as a process of you building your ideal follower persona and your adjacent buyer persona alongside that as well. So that's a video that I'm going to do for another day, but then that's just for the context of community engagement, right? All right, let's go. Go-to-market strategy. So go-to-market strategy is a comprehensive plan for launching a new product or service and reaching customers effectively. It involves understanding the target audience, selecting the right channels, and coordinating the rollout strategy to maximize impact. That one, I would say, is pretty much a no-brainer. You have to plan, you have to strategize and develop the work that you're doing. With what I do, I have a program, or not even more of a program, but a service called the Authority Roadmap. So with that, it's a 90-day roadmap that I work with you to develop that plan from the start of where you're at to where you want to be. And we will sit down and we will carve down this actual go-to strategy itself when it comes down to your personal brand and your business brand. But through that actual session, it's more so the focus of what are you doing to amplify your name and what are you doing in terms of developing a campaign that will allow people to know you. What are you doing that can amplify you, that can drive awareness all the way back to what you're doing, that can lead into your funnel, right? So that's what I do when it comes down to that idea of go-to-market strategy as well. So it's good to see that it's also included in that list. Performance marketing, or pay for performance marketing, is a strategy where advertisers pay only when a measurable outcome, such as a click, lead, or sale occurs. This approach helps companies use their marketing budgets more strategically and maximize ROI. Okay, that's fair. Pay for performance marketing. So yeah, I suppose that's more paid media side of things. With me, it's more so earned media on that side. But that makes sense as to why that could be relevant for when you have that particular sort of audience as well. But then it's also worth bearing in mind that with you sort of having that budget aside in order to get that done, it all comes down to traffic. It all comes down to the amount of traffic that you are generating and driving back to that particular page that can allow that process to occur, right? And then last but not least on this list is operational efficiency. So that involves streamlining individual team or business operations to improve productivity and quality. By using tools to reduce manual tasks and optimizing workflows, marketing teams can focus efforts on high impact areas. And, you know, all that stuff is important because even for myself as a solopreneur, the idea of workflows and building your SOPs are so incredibly important for you to have an understanding of what you're doing and how you're able to do it. And even as far as producing this YouTube content is concerned, this daily YouTube content that I'm producing, I wouldn't be able to do it without having a SOP, like a workflow of how I'm able to produce it in this way at this rate, because it makes sense for you to understand what your workflow looks like and how it effectively helps you to manage these tasks so you can focus on the things that actually drive you revenue, right? So that is the list. But before I even finish this video, I'm thinking, what would I add on this particular list? Because I did see a comment here, and then this lovely person, Mercy, flagged that authenticity is something that is missing on the list. Let me see how long this is. I can read this. What's missing, in my opinion, is authenticity. AI can generate content at scale. I did mention that, but it's droned everything into the same voice. The real skill for 2026 is in knowing how to put the differentiation and individuality back into AI generated marketing. The organizations and individuals who figure out how to sound like themselves will be the ones who actually stand out. And that's big facts. I agree. And that's why, even with me incorporating that level of AI, to be fair, what helps a lot is the fact that I am doing this content raw and very much unedited. This is my real voice. This is my real stance on things. And this is my real opinion. So when I actually transcribe the raw transcripts of said content, that's my voice. I incorporate it into the relevant tools that will allow me to be able to repurpose and develop content in my voice because it is me, right? But that's a video for another day. So what I would say, one thing I would say, let me have a think. Positioning for me is not on the list. Positioning without the sort of, you can have all the strategy in the world. You can have the marketing budget. You can have everything. If you don't have the positioning strategy of how you slot and fit yourself into this particular industry, in this particular niche, in this particular realm of work that you do, it makes it a lot more harder for you to seem convincing, because how are you positioning yourself? What is your unique selling point? What is the thing that makes you stand out compared to others? What are your accolades that allows you to fit into the sort of narrative, right? And as far as narrative goes, another thing that I felt was missing was the idea of thought leadership. Thought leadership still remains the backbone of when it comes down to being seen or perceived in a different way, or being known for something that is bigger than yourself, right? Being a thought leader is a lot more than just writing about a particular topic at this present time. It's always about thinking ahead, thinking about the particular contrarian views that may be present in the process, thinking about what the rise of AI may mean for your industry. It may mean, what does 10 years look like for your particular industry? What are the things that are stopping your industry from flourishing and growing? Those thought leadership ideas and notions is what carries you as a key person of influence and an obvious choice. So I think that also needs to be considered within a list as far as concerned when it comes down to marketing. And with that, the PR side, PR is my bag as well. So that level of earned media strategy alongside the positioning, where are you looking to be presented in, whether it comes down to publications, whether it comes down to broadcasters, whether it comes down to podcasts, where are you looking to embed yourself into the conversation to then showcase your story, your expertise, your narrative, even your mindset? Where are you showcasing all these things that can allow you to be present? And when it comes down to that, it all then ties in with GEO, generative engine optimization, right? That is effectively how you are able to be visible and seen across these AI tools and these AI platforms, right? I always say, Google your name. What comes up? Where are you listed? Are you high in the search results, or are you on page 14, right? you have to understand what you can do in order for you to raise awareness of your name and your profile, which then allows you to have a higher search engine results, right? But as far as GEO goes, generative engine optimization, that is focused more so on how you are perceived and how visible you are and how searchable you are on these AI platforms, whether it comes down to ChatGPT, whether it comes down to Perplexity, whether it comes down to Claude. How are you seen on these particular platforms that are growing at a rapid rate, where people are using that more than they're even using Google in some sense? Google for me will always remain an important integral part of marketing, I would say, overall. But the rise of AI is growing so much, you need to also consider that as a factor. And I think the understanding of, they mentioned AI literacy on the list anyway, but GEO and the idea of you being able to use earned media strategy that will then allow you to become more visible in the process is something that I believe is extremely important in 2026 and beyond. Matter of fact, I have reason to believe that they may include it in the list for 2027, because we're still very much early into GEO as far as it's concerned within the earned media strategy side of things. It's still very new, but I feel that it will be something that will show up in the list moving further down the line, right? And then lastly, I think what was missing, if I have a quick scroll through, is funnel design. And with me, I've recently started to embed a funnel design into what I am looking to do in the upcoming weeks, right? And it's something that I've learned is also effective, because you need to use all the marketing that you can use, whether it comes down to your personal brand or your business brand, but you always need to bring your prospects or anyone who is interested in your work within your funnel. And the funnel is so important because you don't want to make it overly complicated. You want to be in a position where you get your clients or your prospects into your ecosystem that can allow them to see who you are, what you do, why you do the things that you do, your passion points, what you stand for, what you don't stand for. That ecosystem will contain everything that is needed for people to make the decision if they want to buy from you. That will make the decision if they want to be immersed in your world just because they are genuinely interested in what you have to say, right? So for me, funnel design is also something that I feel needs to be included in a list like this, and something that we tend not to really take into consideration. You have to take your prospects on a journey that makes sense, because unless, depending on where you are at within your sort of business journey, right, or where you're at in your sort of personal brand journey, you need to incorporate both of them so people can see that you're visible and you're likable, but also the fact that you're credible and you can get the job done. And when you create a funnel that allows people to then have an understanding of both, that is what will change the game. And that is something that I am in the process of building. And I have a pretty good feeling that this is going to change the game for myself. However, that's it for the video. This is the list, man. This is the list, but it was a good list. I really think this list is cool, and it's going to be quite interesting to see how people embed this list into their own sort of plans and strategies within marketing and branding. But on that note, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is there anything else on the list that you would add? Let me know. But on that note, it's been a pleasure, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out. Look after yourself.